Let me tell you about somebody that was doing it wrong. And if you follow me on Twitter at DHPIV, you saw me make a little bit of noise on this. I try not to be on my phone too much on vacation. It's always a little bit of a dilemma because you want your camera with you to capture great moments, right? But your camera is tied to everything else that's in your phone, like your texts and the Slack threads and the social medias and everything else. And you're like, I would like to put this down, but actually have access to a camera for when the little niece I'm with on the beach does something cute. So I don't know. I maybe need to just buy a camera just to use for vacations so I don't have to use my phone. But I'm at a North Carolina beach week, which, by the way, there should be a book. It's like a sociological study of the North Carolina family beach week. You know the time I'm talking about. It's kind of cool because the North Carolina beach week, some vacations are, for lack of a better term, like elitist. They like class people out. Like you can go to Europe, and some people can go to Europe more expensive than other people, right? But like by virtue of going to Europe, you got to have some money just to get there, right? So not everybody's going to Europe, and certainly not everybody's going every year, right? The great thing about the North Carolina beach vacation is it kind of transcends class. If you've got the money to rent or buy a huge house on the ocean with a swimming pool and a hot tub and 30 bedrooms, like you can do it that style. If all you can afford is a hotel room at the beach or a camper, and I'm not knocking those things either, like basically there's just a lot of different ways to do the beach. You can do it on the low end or you can do it luxury, like however you want to do the beach. And every family in North Carolina, not everyone, but it's become a thing where like, it's been a thing where you go to the beach and oftentimes you rent the same beach house every year and it starts to feel a little bit like your beach house, right? And you go back and you're there. Oh, we're always there the week after the 4th of July or the last week in June or the first week in August or whatever it is. You're at the beach week. And there's a lot of people do beach weeks differently. Some people it's like sit on the beach all day, every day. Some people it's like activities. You start at your beach house and you move around the beach, checking things out from there. There's a lot of different ways to do the beach week. So I don't have a lot of hard and fast rules about how you should do your beach week. Should you go out to eat and eat dinner? Should you cook meals in? Should it be a combo? Should you do only seafood at the beach? Mm-hmm. Should you be on the south side? Should you be on the boat? Should you be sitting on the beach? These are all choices that you have. However, in order to exist as a society, a civilized beach vacationing state, we do have some rules that help us organize in the chaos, right? And I believe that chief among these rules, number one, actually, well, whatever. There's a lot of things that could be number one, but because I'm doing this radio segment, number one is you do not set up your beach setup. And yes, I know I just used set up as a verb and a noun there. I don't know how else to do it. You do not put your beach setup in front of another beach setup. What constitutes in front, right? Drawing a perpendicular line to you and the ocean, like a straight line right at you and the ocean. Nobody should set up in there. Now, let me be clear on a couple things. First of all, no one owns the beach. That should probably be rule number one. Like people who own houses on the beach do not own the beach in front of their house, right? Everything's like fair game. This is true in the setup rule too. Like if I've got my beach set up, that is not to say that no one can cross in front of me, right? Okay. Kids can play. People can sit their chair. You know, some people like you sit for a little while with your feet in the surf, like down there. People can go down there and sit in the surf. Walkers can walk. Dogs can walk. Kids can build sandcastles in front of me. Like there's nothing off limits about the area in front of me, but you just do not set up. A setup constitutes what? Like at least 3 chairs and shade of some sort. Mm-hmm. Probably a cooler, maybe a speaker.
Shaboomy.
Like a tent, a shaboomy, an umbrella even, I think, constitutes a setup. So I had this happen to me. I'm down at the beach. I will admit, the shaboomies make it a little tricky because you've got to face your shaboomy into the wind. So oftentimes your shibumi may look like it's akin to a golf hole where the tee boxes are pointed in one direction, but you might actually be aiming like a little bit different. Like you're like, I'm going to try and cut the corner here. So I'm not hitting straight out of the tee box.
Sure.
I'm hitting off to the left. So I've got my shibumi facing a little bit to the right, but I myself am sitting under the shibumi facing the water because I want to look at the water, right? So I had a group come and just set up 4 chairs and an umbrella that sprung up, I'm talking like 15 yards in front of me and directly in front. And so I threw out a picture and I was like, this is unacceptable North Carolina beach behavior. And there were a lot of opinions on it. Now, a couple things. I described beach setup laterally, side to side. We use urinal rules, okay? Now, I realize that females may not have the same urinal experience because I realize you don't have the same bathroom setup as the males do. But we've got urinals where you got toilets hanging on the wall. There might be, let's say there's 10 of them, right? If there's only 3 people using the urinals at the same time and there's 10 urinals, there's no reason for any of those dudes to be standing shoulder to shoulder. So the same applies to the beach. When space allows, you give a lot of space, like at least 15 or 20 yards from the setup to the left or right of you. Now, as it gets more crowded, maybe it's 2 o'clock, it's a perfect day, it's not too hot. That hadn't happened in a while. It's been very hot. So yes, you do get a little bit tighter, but in that instance, we employ what I like to call the stagger, okay? We're like, one group can be a little bit forward, one group can be a little bit back. It doesn't feel like you're right next to each other, and nobody's blocking anybody's view or path to the ocean. So there were just some folks, I don't know if they were from Ohio or Pennsylvania or wherever they were from, but they were down here and they set up directly in front of me. Now, to be fair, before they even got through with their setup, some people came up and were like, dude, we're set up right in front of those other people. Let's move over here into a stagger position. And that's exactly what they did. And their tent was a little bit off to the left of me. But one dude, the first guy that went down there to set up, almost as if to prove his point, was like, no, I'm staying here with my umbrella. So then he was separate from his group and in front of me, like clearly just to try and irk me, right? The best part was the next couple of days, so we're coming off the public beach access, right? Mm-hmm. They're coming off like a house. They keep trying to creep over further to the public beach access to prevent us from having space to like set up. So we're having to go around them to the left. And then one day they tried to set up and just a lot of people came for the public beach access and we're just right on top of them. It was like, that's what you get for trying to move closer to the beach access to shut people off from being to the right of you. Now you get in the middle of everybody, including like some annoying kids. So observe the rules. Remember, when possible, laterally, we use urinal rules where you try and give as much space as possible, but when it gets crowded, yes, you might have to be shoulder to shoulder with somebody. Never directly in front, and when at all possible, stagger. One a little bit in front, one a little bit behind, so that you're never directly beside or directly in front of everybody. That's how a beach setup should be. In fact, there was, some people go Friday to Friday, Saturday to Saturday, Sunday to Sunday, like you might be different. So we were Sunday to Sunday, so there was like different people were there Saturday. And even though these people weren't from North Carolina, they clearly had the stagger system down. They knew what was going on.
Now, there is an exception I would add to this rule. If someone sets up really far back from the shoreline,
okay, that's fair.
Then there is the exception to that.
That's fair, but you do have to be careful because some people are setting up on the shoreline and then the tide goes out. So it may look like they're a decent distance for the ocean, but they started. So yes. But yeah, if you're way back, I get it. And some people hit me up and they're like, oh, and at the Delaware beaches, you can't do that. It's true. At Myrtle Beach, you never get away with that. And I'm like, fine. I don't know the rules at Delaware. I don't know the rules at Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, we're not talking Rehoboth.
This is North Carolina, okay? And at Emerald Isle, in a civilized society, we stagger at the beach.
Yes.
All right? So if you're driving right now to the beach, think about that, plan, leave room to stagger, don't set up in front of somebody else.